Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Easy Learn. And today's topic is algebra, within which we're going to be doing simultaneous equations, also known as systems of equations. And we're going to be doing some practice today. If you haven't watched my systems of equations explanation video yet, pause right here, check the link in the description below, go understand the concept first, and then come back for solving. So today's question is shown below is a parallelogram. Each side is measured in centimeters. And as you can see, here we have a parallelogram. One of the sides 8x plus 3, then 13 minus y, 3y plus 78, and 2x minus 4. And the question says work out the perimeter of the parallelogram. Now, in order to work out the perimeter, a perimeter basically means that you add up all the four sides and that gives you the perimeter. Now, if you look here, the sides are technically unknown to us. We don't know what the sides are. But one thing you're supposed to know is that in a parallelogram, the top and the bottom sides are equal, and those at the side are equal, which means that whatever is the value here is the same as this one, and whatever is the value on the top is the same as the one on the bottom, which means I can easily grab out two equations out of this parallelogram, which means that let's say if this is my side 1 and that's my side number 2, 1 and 2 are same, so I can write them down as 2x minus 4 is basically equal to 13 minus y. And my side number 3 is equal to the side number 4. So I can set it up in one single equation that says 8x plus 3 equals 3y plus 78. Now, this is slightly different than the usual equations we come across. They're mostly equations that we normally deal with are in one straight line where you have x and y both on the same side and then it's easier to work out. But this one is a little tricky where you have 2x minus 4 on one side, on the other side you have the other variable y, similarly for the next equation. So first of all, we need to figure out what method are we using. When we're doing simultaneous equations, we can do it through three methods: that's substitution, elimination, and graphing. Now in this particular question, you have to see which one looks more simpler or feels more appropriate to be used. Now if I go ahead with elimination, then elimination needs the same base and the opposite signs, and that kind of looks very difficult here because the first one has 2x and the other one has 8x. The bases are not same. Similarly, on the other side there's a negative y and there's a 3y, so again it's a lot of work, too many things to be done, so it's just better that we avoid elimination. Graphing again is not required unless and until they ask us to draw a graph or something that requires to make a graph, then it's fine, we can use the graphing method. But for now we're going to stick to substitution. And how may I do that? You always check in substitution that if you have a variable that is standing alone. By standing alone, I mean it does not have a number attached to it. So if you look here, there's with the x here, there's a 2 attached. With this x, there's an 8 attached. With this one, there's a 3 attached. With this y, there is no other number attached, which means I can make this y my subject and transfer everything to the other side and get a equation in terms of x only and then substitute in the second part. So now let's work this out. So here we have a negative y. So it's always best practice to take your variable, the variable that you want to work on, take that to the other side in order to turn it positive. If it was already positive, I wouldn't have touched it. I would have taken the 13 to the other side. But because this y is negative, I'm going to take it to the other side so that it turns positive. Now, first thing, when I take the y to the other side, the y was negative here. When it goes to the other side, turns into positive. So y, let's say plus 2x minus 4 equals 13. Now the point is that I have to take everything else attached with the y to the other side so that it can become the subject, so that I can isolate it, it can become the subject, and then I can substitute in the next equation. Now, if I take the 2x to the other side, it turns into negative because here it's a positive. Similarly, here the 4 is negative. When I take it to the other side, it turns into positive. So I'm going to do y equals 13 plus 4 minus 2x. Why did I do plus 4? Because it was negative on this side, goes to the other side, turns into positive. Now, y is equal to, I have to now add up because 13 and 4, they're both numbers. So I can just easily add up 13 and 4, and 13 plus 4 gives me a 17. And here I have a y equals 17 minus 2x. Now here life gets easier because I already have my y now. What I can do with this y, I can put it in my second equation here and then figure out my value of x. So everything else stays the way it is. 8x plus 3, all of that stays the way it is. The 78 will also stay the way it is. The 3 over here, it's 3y. 3 stays the way it is. Y changes. Now my y is basically this right here, 17 minus 2x. So I'm going to put 17 minus 2x inside the bracket there, and then I have a plus 78 on the outside, which means that I gotta solve. So I'm gonna do 8x plus 3 stays where it is. Then I gotta do 17 times 3, which gives me a 51, minus 3 times 2, that gives me a 6x. So 3 times negative 2 gives me a negative 6. That's why I'm just gonna write negative 6x. And then I have a plus 78. Now what am I supposed to do is that here I have a number, here a number, here a number. I got to make sure that all my numbers come on one side, and here I have a variable, here I have a variable. Got to make sure that all my variables come on one side. So this negative 6x goes to the other side, turns into positive. This positive 3 comes to this side, turns negative. So I'm going to do 8x plus 6x equals 51 plus 78 and minus 3. Why negative? Because when positive 3 goes to the other side, it turns into negative. Now I'm going to do 8 plus 6. That gives me 14x is equal to, now I have to do 51 plus 78 minus 3. That gives me 126. Now I need to figure out my x, so I'm going to take my 14 to the other side. 14 is in multiplication here. When I take it to the other side, it turns into division. So I'm going to do 126 divided by 14, and that is going to be equal to my x. So if I figure that out, 126 divided by 14, it gives me a 9. Now my x is equal to 9. This is just one part of the question solved. Now that I've got my x, I have to take this x all the way towards my y. Here, where I have y equals 17 minus 2x, I'm going to replace the x right there with my new value, that is 9, so that I can figure out the next length, y. So let's try it up here. So I have y equals 17 minus 2x. In place of x now I have 9. So I have y equals 17 minus 2 times 9 gives me 18, and y equals minus 1. Now that I have all of this information, now I am going to put it back into this 8x plus 3, 13 minus y, and so on, so that I can figure out my lengths. And once I figure out my lengths, I can find my perimeter by adding up all of that. So let me draw my parallelogram here. On the top, I have 8x plus 3. So if I just do 8 times my x, what's my x? It's 9 plus the 3. So 8 times 9 gives me a 72, and 72 plus 3 gives me a 75. So my top one is 75. Then obviously if my top is 75, this one is also supposed to be 75. You can also work it out. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, and negative 3 plus 78 again gives me 75. And then this part now, 2x minus 4. So if I do 2 times x, that is 2 times 9 minus 4. So 2 times 9 is 18, and 18 minus 4 should give you 14. So this length right here is 14. You can try it again here. 3 minus y. 3 minus and minus 1 means 3 plus 1. That gives me a 14 again. Now if I have to find the perimeter of this parallelogram, it's going to be 2 times 75 plus 14. Or you can just write it down separately, saying 75 plus 75 plus 14 and a plus 14. Either ways, it's the same thing. It's just a simpler version to write down the perimeter. 2 times the 75 plus 14, which gives you 178. You can recheck by both methods just to make sure that you're doing the right thing. So 75 plus 75 plus 14 gives you 178. So 178 centimeters. Why centimeters? Because it says each side is measured in centimeters. So my perimeter obviously also has to be in centimeters. So the final answer is 178 centimeters. That is pretty much it. You need to first of all make sure that you figure out what equations you have to make, what equations you have to write down. Once you know that, you have to figure out that which method are you using. Once you figure out that you're using substitution, you have to make sure one of the variable becomes the subject, and then you put in that information into the second equation, and then you get your value for one of the variables. Once you get that, put back in and you will get the value for second equation. Then figure out your lengths by using those values. Once you have your lengths, you use the parameter formula and find your parameter. That is all about this question. And thank you so much for watching Easy Learn. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. If you have any questions, any confusions, you can drop them down in the comment section below. Thank you so much.